All right, folks, we are back live on the stage here at GameSpot's coverage of E3 2011 with one of the most venerable racing franchises in video game history, Need for Speed. With me is Jason DeLong, executive producer on the latest entry in this series, The Run. Jason, thank you for joining us.
Thanks very much. Thanks for having us.
Now, The Run made a big splash at press conferences earlier this week. A dude got up and ran out of his car. This is clearly something you guys are going for, a new kind of experience. So give us an idea what you're trying to create.
Yeah, well, the Need for Speed The Run this year, the concept of the game is it's a race from San Francisco to New York, an illicit high-stakes race. With that
That's
implies,
the best kind.
Well, you know, with that implies a couple things. One is that for the first time in Need for Speed, we're actually going through real locations across the country. In the past, we've always created, you know, fictional cities, fictional counties, but we wanted to really look at the kind of broad canvas of amazing drives that are across the U.S. and find a way to have the player experience that in a way that felt compelling. So for us, it was about, you know, telling a story that drove you through it and got you to experience this amazing cross-country drive. And part of that was, you know, how do we tell a compelling story? And really, at the end of the day, in the past Need for Speeds, narrative-based Need for Speed games that Black Box has done, you know, we've had an amazing racing engine, and it's this great, you know, white-knuckle adrenaline-filled race, and then you put the controller down and watch a little movie that tells you how the story's going, because we couldn't do a believable,
and someone's narrating there, you know, experiencing
looking into the camera. Yeah. So for us, you know, we went to Frostbite 2 this year. We partnered with DICE to get you know, get an amazing racing experience into the Frostbite 2 engine.
Excellent.
And what that allows us to do for the first time in Need for Speed is actually, you know, have a character in the game, have a hero character that exists both in and out of the car. And so for us, it's about, you know, telling a story in a way that's compelling, allowing the player to get out of the car from time to time. You know, it's a small part of the game; it's less than 10%, but it's really about keeping the action up all the way through and telling the story in a way that feels like the player is continually involved and not having to put the controller down and just watch some exposition.
Sure, because it's about being behind the wheel, being in control. And right now we're behind the wheel, and we're tearing through a downtown of
Chicago.
This is as
Chicago.
The iconic elevated railway.
Yeah, exactly. We're about 2/3 of the way through the run at this point in this demo. You know, our hero Jack is you know, proceeding through the race. Unfortunately, Jack has also got the interest of the mob. One of the reasons, not to get into the story too much at this point, but one of the reasons Jack is actually in this race is because of some trouble that he got into in his past. So the mob finds out that he's on his way to Chicago, and they got a welcoming party for him. Interrupts his race, and now he's running for his life. So,
and it looks like he knows how to run for his life. He's been in a situation like this before.
You know,
maybe?
Jack's got a sorted past. You know, he.
Yeah.
But you know, for us, the idea with these out-of-car action moments is really, it's not about spending time, you know, stopping, looking around Chicago, doing some window shopping. It's about getting back in the race as quickly as possible.
It's about flying off of a 6-story building onto a 4-story building. He's a hardy fellow.
When pushed to extreme circumstances, you're amazed at what your human body can do. But yeah, so for us, you know, we wanted to make sure that, you know, these out-of-car action moments felt like they kept the same adrenaline that you feel with racing. It's not about, as I said, sort of stopping and looking around and giving the player control to do what they want to do. We want to get you back in the race as quickly as possible, because if you don't get to New York in first place, you didn't make it, right? So the idea being here that Jack has to go to fairly extreme circumstances from time to time to get back in the race.
I would say assaulting a police officer is pretty extreme.
You know, it's when pushed to extreme circumstances.
You know, if you have no other choice.
Yeah, one of the nice things that you just saw there, like about our out-of-car action, is that it actually has some branching gameplay to it as well. So, you know, on that second punch there, he actually missed the button press on the punch, got put into a grapple by the cop, and now has a different gameplay mechanic to try and get out of it. It's not, as Simon says, remember the button press combo.
Right.
It's about gestural controls. It's about, you know, different types of control within those out-of-car moments.
Now, 2 questions. One, what happens if you miss all the prompts? Can you fail these sequences?
Yeah, definitely. It's the idea is that it's not auto play, but it is, you know, we wanted to kind of keep the action up, keep it engaging, keep the player feeling like they're in this story, right? And as opposed to stopping, watching a movie, and then getting back behind the wheel of another car. It's like, let's keep the action up all the way through. Now Jack's, I mean, this is outside of the regular race. Obviously, Jack started this in Chicago in the race. Right now, the mob's trying to kill him with their helicopter. He had to steal a cop car just so he can get out of the city as fast as possible to get back in the race.
And now avoid a giant helicopter gun trying to blow him up.
And what you'll see in this demo too is, you know, obviously some beyond the gorgeous visuals. This is on PS3. You know, we're really happy with how the game's looking. Frostbite gives us that gorgeous visuals, but it also gives us some amazing world destruction. So you'll see as the helicopter starts to get up the ante in terms of trying to bring Jack in.
Don't spoil it. I want to see the destruction.
You might see some pretty cool destruction as well. So we're really happy.
During the on-foot sequence, where we saw sort of QuickTime button prompts.
Yeah.
Is that going to represent most of the gameplay once you're on foot out of the car?
Yeah, it's a combination of things. We did a lot of testing, to be honest, and for us it was about making sure, as I said, keeping the action up all the way along, and we did do full 360 control as well as try a bit different button presses, and we kind of ended up with a bit of both. So some of our out of car moments do have the kind of the button presses, some is button mashing, some is just like timed button presses sequences, but we also have, as you'll see near the end of the demo, really kind of infinite gestural control. So as you're moving the left stick around, Jack's looking in all directions, and it's almost a puzzle-solving element to it. So we've got the high action beats with our auto car, but we also have the moments where we want people to take a breath and then get back into the race again. So
it's all about the pacing.
Exactly. Yeah, we spent a lot of time on that.
Right on. Now, we've talked a lot about the on-foot stuff, but like you said, 90% of this game, you're behind the wheel.
Exactly, yeah.
Talked about, from a car handling standpoint, Need for Speed has veered from simulation all the way to arcade.
Yeah.
Where does this fall on that spectrum?
Actually, you know what? I would say we're almost right in the middle. Like when you look at Hot Pursuit last year, exotic supercars, just great drifts, really great feeling, very arcadey kind of feel, as opposed to like a Shift or Shift 2, obviously, which is pure simulation. For us, we wanted to make sure that everything in this game felt like human. So from the story that we told to the character in the game to, quite frankly, each car having its own personality and its own feeling. And the cars really behave the way you believe they behave in real life. When you're behind the wheel of a 750 horsepower Shelby Super Snake with rear-wheel drive, it's going to take a while to tame that beast.
Yeah.
It is accessible. You can pick it up and play it right away, but there is some mastery required over time. So it's a nice blend of arcade and sim. We feel we've kind of hit it right, the sweet spot right in the middle.
And so we're seeing, obviously a dramatic race through a downtown metropolis. But Justin in Brighton, in the United Kingdom, wants to know, we're going across the country. What kind of different terrain or driving environments are we going to see?
You're going to see it all. I mean, that's another beautiful thing about Frostbite is it's an amazing developer tool, and it allows us to iterate very, very quickly. So we were able to create for the run over 300 kilometers of track, which is more than 3 times you've seen in any Need for Speed previously. So for us, a race across the U.S., it isn't just about going from city to city. That's definitely not what it's about. Of course, you do go through some urban centers, Chicago, obviously San Francisco, but it's also about the vast terrain in between those cities. So America is huge. It has a vast terrain. So we're going to see open deserts. We're going to see high mountain passes. We're going to see rural farmland. You're going to experience it all.
The Eisenhower interstate system.
No specifics, but yeah, you're going to see a lot.
Okay. All right. Very cool.
So he's coming to the end of the demo here now. Jack's, we think, hopefully made his way out of the car and lived to fight another day, but
escaping a catastrophic train accident.
Another thing you'll see here when the final screen comes up, assuming we're plugged into the internet, is the speed wall. So obviously Autolog makes a return in our game this year.
Yeah.
In the past game, it was about individual races on individual tracks. For us, we wanted to find a way to weave Autolog into the story in a way that has never been done before. So for us, it's not just about the race from San Francisco to New York and Jack's journey. It's actually about the player's journey as well, and competing against your friends. We know second to second how you're matching up against your friends, so it's about beating your friends to New York, not just getting Jack to New York.
And that Autolog feature just dangles that carrot a little bit further. You see your friend had this time, he got there this quick. It just drives you
it makes the single player campaign not quite so lonely, because it is about you're playing much like a Drake's Fortune or something. You're playing through a great story, but at the same time we've added that additional layer where it makes it much more personal. It's not just about beating the hundreds of racers that we put in the game. It's also about beating 15, 20 of your friends to New York as well.
And we've got, of course, you said the M word, and we've got a bunch of questions coming in, especially from England, about multiplayer. Autolog is a way to connect with other players while you're racing. But are we going to have, on the run, are we going to have some side-by-side trade and paint?
I got to give you the stock E3 answer, which we're not talking about multiplayer.
Oh, it's not that time?
I think it's fair to say that Need for Speed will have a multiplayer component, but no details at this point.
All right, so it is there, but we're going to have to stay tuned for more.
I can neither confirm nor deny the existence of multiplayer in Need for Speed The Run.
All right, well, so we've got, people are sort of trying, the whole idea of the linear campaign that's sort of driven and paced, so, out-of-car action sequences on the road. People are just wondering about your kind of freedom to do, within those sequences, to maybe take a different path or, race a different way.
Different routes, yeah. I mean, again, not getting into too much detail right now. The game is made up of many different modes, the run being one, the story of the game. But Need for Speed wouldn't be Need for Speed without really compelling tracks that have lots of alternate routes and shortcuts you can take and so forth. So people won't be disappointed, that's for sure.
And as Jared from Houston writes, Need for Speed is also about a lot of cars. Can you give us an idea of the scope of cars, how many or what different types?
Yeah, not again, E3 answer. Not talking about all the cars yet. However,
E3.
what I will say about our cars is we wanted to make sure, as I said earlier, like, you know, there's a kind of a human and personal element to every aspect of the game. And for us, when we looked at our car list and decided what cars we wanted to introduce here, we wanted to make sure that each car kind of had a unique personality as well. So as you saw in the demo, the beginning car that we're racing is, you know, it's not just a Ford Mustang. We could have put a Ford Mustang in the game, and that's an awesome car, no question. But we went with, you know, the Ford Shelby Super Snake Edition, which is a completely different version. It's a very rare version of that car. So that's something you're going to see kind of consistent with the theme with our game, is that we didn't just pick the stock car. We actually went for the rarer, more kind of personality plus exotic version of the car.
Excellent, and Frostbite allowing you to render that in loving detail.
Oh, gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. I mean, we're really excited about where we're getting the game to visually. I think it's by far going to be the best looking Need for Speed game we've seen.
All right, a bold claim.
Well, you know.
Well, speaking of other Need for Speed games, we have a question coming in from Cyprus that seems inspired by the Hot Pursuit entry. You know, in that game, you could, you know, there were a lot of sort of abilities. You could deploy a spike trap. You know, there was different sort of assets you could use to help you in the race.
Yep.
Are we seeing any of that in the run along the way?
You know, I think Jack's got some tricks up his sleeve that we will be unveiling later. You know, all due respect to
from his sordid past.
Exactly.
Pulls out,
you know, you never know. What
he knows how to take out a cop.
Yeah.
He knows how to avoid a helicopter chase.
He's got some skills.
He maybe knows how to acquire a few illicit items.
There might be some abilities he may acquire from time to time that help his race experience. We shall see.
All right. Just checking these questions here. Remember, folks, we are live, so we're taking your questions. Use the Ask Us a Question button on the side of the page. People were wondering, you know, any sort of, they're asking about multiplayer local stuff, and I'm just going to head that off at the pass because you gave us the E3 answer.
The E3 answer.
Now, is there something you want to share that you haven't gotten to share yet already? Before
I think the biggest thing for me is really talking about the team that made the game. You know, it's been done by Black Box in Vancouver. Black Box is the studio behind, you know, Most Wanted and Underground, some of the biggest Need for Speeds that we've done. And it's been a few years since we've done a Need for Speed game. We've actually been working on a few other things, and also really had the time to step back and really make sure we had the time we needed to make this game. And it's about delivering like a Hollywood blockbuster action racing experience for Need for Speed fans. We got an amazing team of veterans back at EA that have been working on this, as well as some new additions to the Black Box family. We stole a couple people from Codemasters as an example.
All right.
But cool. Yeah, you know, the team that's making this is a team of industry veterans, jazzed. You know, Black Box is coming back in a big way, and we're really excited. Good reason to have confidence in Need for Speed The Run, folks. Jason, thank you so much for joining us and showing it off. Cheers. Very appreciated. Hope you continue to have a good E3. Thanks a lot. Now, folks, we are heading back to the show floor. This time, it's the Sony booth where we're bound, and we're going to show you what's inside there, what games are on display, and all sorts of other cool stuff. Let's check it out.